Rosho is one of two characters added to Hypmic after the first DRB, whose characterization suffers from dependency on another character. Hiroya was literally created to contrast with Jokurai, while Rosho was created to complement Sasura. And this makes perfect sense. In Hiroya's case, he was added to help balance out Hypmic's roster, and in Rosho's case, his relationship with Sasura was designed to help their team stand out amongst the original four. The downside is that it makes it harder for both of these characters to stand out on their own sometimes. The bulk of Rosho's characterization revolves around the time he spent as Sasura's comedy partner and how their miscommunication and resulting breakup complicates their current relationship. Meanwhile, Rei sets up scenarios for them to make up, like some kind of fanfic author trying to keep his OTP afloat. But before Rosho found himself rapping for the team with the lamest logo,
初めて大阪ディビジョンどついたり本舗のロゴが学園に貼ってあって、僕たちもそのロゴ見るの初めてだったんですよ。で、それを見て黒田さんが「なんだこれ出せ」っつって「出せ」っつったと思って。
Rosho was incredibly studious, though not really by choice. Rosho's parents were both teachers, and he was brought up under their harsh standards for academic performance. Rosho grew to resent the high expectations his mother had for him in particular, and as a result, he indulged in a late rebellious phase after graduating high school. He slicked back his hair, wore leather jackets, and went out on a limb to pursue comedy, all while refusing to adhere to anyone else's standards. He was born with a face fit for a delinquent, so he looked the part even though it didn't really fit his personality. Once he paired up with Sasura, his glare was deemed too scary for comedy, so Sasura got Rosho a pair of fake glasses in order to soften his features. It worked, and Rosho has worn fake glasses ever since. His stern appearance and scolding temper made him a natural fit for the straight man role. But after making such a fuss about rejecting others' expectations of him, he found himself feeling pressured to excel at comedy in order to live up to being Sasura's partner. Rosho ended up believing that he was only holding Sasura's talent back, and as a result, Rosho eventually had a nervous breakdown on stage, leaving him with permanent stage fright. Now he stutters through his lessons in the classroom, and you can hear him choking up in Aosaka Dreaming Night until Sasura snaps him out of it, setting a precedent for the two of them to just start doing manzai in the middle of songs sometimes. Rosho and Sasura's manzai theme is part of a recent manzai boom in Japan, where in the past 5 years there's been a noticeable jump in manzai-related media. And since Osaka is famous for producing comedians, manzai must have seemed like an obvious choice for Hypmic's new Osaka division back in 2019. In addition, modern manzai was typically considered women's entertainment, making Dotsuritari Honpo, the comedy duo, a good fit for Hypmic's target demographic. While Sasura is defined by his success as a comedian, Rosho is defined by his failure, and how he later made sense of everything after he split up with Sasura and quit the entertainment industry. He went back to school, presumably got his teaching license, and followed in his parents' footsteps by becoming a math teacher, and now he raps about equations. In his first solo song, Own Stage, he reflects on his time in showbiz as Sasura's partner, and how he's moved on to perform on a new kind of stage, that being the front of a classroom. It's a stage where he doesn't have to share the spotlight and where he can envision himself thriving. His speaker reflects this by taking on the form of a classroom, but it also has a subtle nod to Sasura for all the influence he's had on who Rosho is today. If Sasura tends to build trust with his wit and persistence, and Rei tends to destroy trust, then Rosho tends to mend trust after it's been broken. He gives Sasura a second chance, he teams up with Rei despite getting duped by him, and also mends a lot of his students' ties with family and friends. In his Survival of the Illest Plus verse, Rosho mentions that it's always okay to restart. He's made it clear that he doesn't regret trying to make it as a comedian, but accepts that it wasn't meant to be. For Rosho, it's better to try and fail than to never find out what could have been. That's why he's so adamant that others should pursue their dreams rather than give up at the starting line. In his Division Rap Battle Plus verse, he specifically rejects nihilism, and this gets expanded upon in his second solo, Under Sail, where he says nothing is meaningless, drops can become rivers, and tiny seeds can end up growing into flowers one day. And by that logic, wisdom can be built from failures. Now, if only Rosho could take his own advice and wise up to when he's being scammed. But Rosho's MC name and iconic English lyrics are in reference to how wisdom is something Rosho is in pursuit of and not something he already possesses. Rosho's official quote is, "Anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new," and is credited to Albert Einstein. Now, the official quotes that are attached to each of the characters appear in metamaterials like character profiles or music videos. They're meant to be mottos to help sum up the characters' personalities, and this sort of thing is commonplace in gacha-type franchises with large casts. It's not really implied that the characters actually go around quoting their favorite scientist, except in Rosho's case, where he actually addresses Einstein in his first solo, implying Einstein is a role model he actually looks up to and would totally hang up those motivational posters of him. Einstein is of course synonymous with the term genius, which Rosho has used to describe Sasura when it comes to comedy. So if Sasura is a comedic genius representing Osaka's shining entertainment world, and Rei is Rosho's former MLM boss representing the seedy underbelly of Osaka's criminal world, then Rosho is the somewhere in between Sasura's light and Rei's darkness. Rosho represents the average Osakan in the middle. Scoundrels can't exist without suckers, and performers can't exist without their audience. Going back to Own Stage, Rosho compares himself to the moon, a beacon in the darkness that can't actually produce its own light, but an important complement to both the day and night skies nonetheless. Rosho is an essential piece of Dotsuitari Honpo, despite how mundane he seems. Rosho is like a blackened takoyaki. It's easy to dismiss because of what's on the surface, but you won't know how good it is until you actually taste it. And as the newer divisions catch up in terms of content, it's easy to imagine that Rosho will continue to aspire and grow for our entertainment. The bulk of Sasuro's